Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Tyler. Welcome to another episode of Draw and Talk, where we talk about indie comics and making comics. And today, I have an awesome guest on. His name is Jo Vasquez. I said that right, right?
Yep, that's right.
Perfect. And we're going to be talking about a topic that I've been really thinking about for the last couple months. If you see the title, it says "Why My Webtoons Failed." It kind of sucks. It kind of sucks, and we're going to talk about that. But real quick, Jo, tell us about your personal webcomic and where they can find it, and then we'll talk about this whole Webtoons business.
All right, so my comic is on Webtoons right now, and it's called Five Tribes of Victory. It's a story. It's kind of an Alice in Wonderland. Kid goes across the universe, traverses space and time, and it's a coming of age type story.
And so what made you want to put it on Webtoons of all places?
Well, so the format looked interesting. Right now, I'd say about 2 years ago when I first started looking at it, you were looking at, print was becoming really unaffordable to do as an individual. Now that's kind of dialed back a little bit. And you just see all this digital market. So you think, well, that sounds like a good idea. It's the right way. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody can see it on Webtoons. It makes it very accessible. And accessibility is part of making something successful.
Yeah. No, I know I didn't really discover webcomics until Tapastic, and I kind of dabbled with that. And then I realized, maybe I don't think my comic is the right format for Tapastic. And then I heard about Webtoons, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll try that. And I tried formatting my comic the way Webtoons wanted to, with like the panels, and then there's like all those huge spaces. It just meant a lot of work, and my comic wasn't meant for Webtoons. And I think that was a big thing. So let's talk about, why, I know your post today was kind of like, why you're thinking about leaving Webtoons or trying to find other avenues with your comic. What made you think this?
Well, when I first got on Webtoons, the metrics did work for me. I grabbed about 200-300 people. I posted semi-regularly, not as regularly as I'd like, but the type of comic that I do might not be perfect for Webtoons. And I think what Webtoons wants is something that somebody can go check every couple of days, have some content, have something interesting. They're not looking necessarily for in-depth story per se. They're not looking for high production value stuff. And I think that's the problem with Webtoons right now is it's a very quick line drawing, short, concise storylines. It kind of gets away from what I wanted to do, at least.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Like my comic, the same thing. It's a long form story that you need to be invested in. We're gonna have some subplots, and I just felt like the readers, they're just kind of, and then I felt like I put in a lot of production on the art, and
Yeah.
I think the readers, I think Webtoons readers are just like they just want to scroll. Let me look at some some art, and then let's have a really basic storyline. That's what I found with a lot of the Webtoons that I've seen. It's just this basic storyline that it's so easy to follow, and everyone's like, oh, like that was fun, and then they'll comment that was fun. Whereas when they read mine, they're like, I don't even know where this is going right now, and they're just like, don't worry, like it's I don't know.
I felt like really interesting comments. My comments always, they're like, "Oh, I love this. That's great." No subscribes. This is the best comic I've ever read. No subscribes.
And oops. I think a big problem with Webtoons format as well, not the format, but like the website, is they don't cater it very well to interaction. They make it sound like they do, but there's no way for you to get notified of every comment. So
sorry,
you don't
I'm
know
using my phone here. So
no, you're good. You're good. The Webtoons website or in the app, they don't like let you know when someone comments. You have to find out yourself. They don't let you know who actually subscribes. It's very anonymous, everything, and they don't tell you you have to personally go out and be like, hey, did anyone actually comment on my book today?
Fortunately, I don't have a lot of comments, so I think it was the biggest disappointment. I was hoping to be out there in a public forum and maybe get some even something negative would be something,
Yeah, and well, that's the thing is I wasn't getting any comments, and then I went back to my first. I didn't know who was liking. And when I went back after I did like 12 episodes, I went back to the first one just to see, and I noticed I had like 12 comments on the first episode with a bunch of likes. I was like, oh, why didn't I get notified of this? Like, I had no idea. So now I'm trying to reply to people who might have dropped off if because I wasn't interacting with them. I just think it's not a good. They need to like work on that, letting creators like be able to know when their fans are interacting with them, and also know who's subscribing, because it just says.
Well, now there was some good stuff that came out of Webtoons too. So, oops.
Yeah, talk about this.
So one of the good things that came out of Webtoons was, as I started realizing, what the problem was, because again, the feedback I get is really great. Oh, great art, wonderful story, I love it. What can I do to, keep this going? Subscribe, Patreon. They don't do those things. But what I did learn was, in competition to Webtoons, I realized I need to bring my stories together a little bit quicker. That even if I was doing a traditional comic, maybe I was still coming off the gun a little slow, and what I need to do is really get those story arcs, not worry so much about the depth of it, but get some of the fun part of my story. Like, I had some great ideas that didn't come out till the very last couple of issues, which I could have put them in earlier. And so I feel that Webtoons did help me in kind of helping me whittle out the better parts of the story earlier on.
Do you think do you think though that that's problematic though with how you want to tell your story? The fact that you have to, I don't know. I just feel like with Webtoons, if you're going to do a Webtoons comic, in my opinion, you should cater it to what you should cater your story and everything, your format, to Webtoons. Whereas I feel like my story, I was making it for like a print, and I was like, oh, let me just put it on Webtoons. And I felt
no, you're right. You are right. That is, to be fair, I'm probably gonna, if I keep it on Webtoons, it's just to keep it there. But more than likely, I'm gonna try to find another location for it, another home for it. I might try to kickstart a print version of it. I don't know. I just at this point, the ability to produce what Webtoons wants versus what I produce are just completely different. And Webtoons will tell you, they say it in their things. They want you to put about 40 panels up twice a week. And sure, if I was drawing smiley faces and stick figures, but my art is very detailed. It's more, traditional comic, graphic novel. In that post that started this whole conversation on Facebook, somebody had said, yeah, your stuff looks great, but it's more graphic novel than,
Yeah, it's not really catered to the webcomic, what everyone's there. Real quick, I just want to say hi to everyone who's watching. We got Kevin Rotatoe, we got Britton, we got Justin, we got Coffee. What's up, Coffee? How you doing? If you guys have any questions about what we're talking about in terms of Webtoons, webcomics, and hit us up in the chat, and we'll.
Hey, a little shout out there to Kevin Rotatelli. He's the one that got me to see. He pointed Webtoons out to me in the first place.
Oh, that's awesome! That's awesome. I have a friend, and when I say friend, I have to say acquaintance, because I don't know her real name anymore. I only know her by her Instagram name. But I met her at a church function, and she was like, "Yeah, I want to get into comics." And I was like, "Oh, let me show you how to do stuff." And she was like, "Yeah," and we talked a little bit, and then she was posting on Instagram like, "Hey, I'm gonna do a Webtoons comic." And I was like, "Hey, I have a Webtoons comic, and I've got 500 subscribers, and it's going pretty well." And she was like, "That's cool." And she was making her comic strictly for Webtoon. That was her purpose. And she looked at the styles, and I'm gonna pull up hers right now. But now, oh my gosh, it got so much bigger since last week, and I looked at it. So now, because she catered to Webtoons, she now has now has 10,000 subscribers on her Webtoons.
Yeah, if I had to do it over again, I definitely would cater it more towards Webtoons. Yeah. I have another project I'm working on specifically for Webtoons, and it's going to be head and shoulder dialogue. Limited backgrounds. I went with a much simpler art style than my main comic art style, and I haven't really done much with it yet. But that would be if I do Webtoons, it's definitely going to be with that principle.
Yeah, Holy crap! I'm just like shocked right now. It was not at 10,000 the last time I checked. It was she had like 5,000 subscribers, and now she's at 10,000. So,
All
um,
right, well, more power to her. Let's find out what she's doing.
yeah, too. You know, so it's kind of what you, but I watch her draw on her Instagram, and each update that she puts is like it's a stack of paper that much, and she's not worrying about the backgrounds. It's more faces and the dialogue, and I think that's kind of where I think you and me were different. My comic has tons of backgrounds. It's more traditional. Yours is well. You're like our books are more for print in a graphic novel, and I don't think they belong on Webtoons. It's just not what the people are wanting, and I don't think.
No, I'm going to have to agree with you on that. But again, like I said, I learned a lot about abbreviating my story, maybe getting my message across. It forced me to rethink how I was telling the story. So I don't think it was a bad experience at all. I think it was a good experience, and it did get some feedback that mostly positive, but I did get 350 subscribers.
Yeah, and that's a good feeling, right?
There's 350 people out there that I don't know. Well, okay, 340 people that I don't know that follow my stuff and thought it was good enough to click a button.
And I think also a big thing with using a comic that you made for print is if you want to succeed on Webtoons, you then got to reformat it.
With Photoshop, you can do that now. Like if I knew ahead of time, I definitely would have drawn it a little differently. But with any project that I do now, I would make sure that everything was layered appropriately in Photoshop. Each panel had its own folder, so that I could restructure it when we go, okay, well, we're going to be on a webtoon, or we're going to do a web comic with it. Okay, it's ready to go.
I agree. The next time, if I ever do Webtoons again, I'm with you there. This is a comic for Webtoons. How each panel has its own folder, so you can easily format it. You know what? And that's I currently have a Kickstarter right now for my book Demons Volume 1. Links in the description. Everyone, back it. I updated. I put 12 pages worth of printed panels on each update, and I was doing really well. And I just got lazy, and I stopped formatting it, and then I just dropped off. And I think that was a missed opportunity for me. So another big thing with Webtoons is consistency. If you need to plan it out, you need to plan out. You need to have a good buffer, if anything. I don't know. Did you have a buff? Do you have a buffer, or are you just every week trying to update it and keep it to a schedule?
So originally I put out like, a couple of, I had printed something or had made like 14 pages, but as of right now, I've exceeded my ability to publish on a regular basis versus what I can do.
Do you have planned your comic to go into print? Is it in print?
It is not in print, but I would like to.
Yeah, that's another reason why I kind of went the Webtoons route is I always saw these web comics. They built their audience over a couple years, and then when they did the print, everyone flocked to
I have the dream, but yeah, I think right now for me, everything I learned on Webtoons, I want to take into my next project. I don't want to do just one webcomic. 5 Tribes of Victory is beautiful. You should go check it out. It's a wonderful story.
It is, by the way. The art is fantastic. I'm going to put the link in the description, everyone, at the end of this.
And make sure it's good. But my next project, I'm going in a little bit different direction. I'm purely making it for print, but with the caveat that each panel is its own folder in Photoshop.
Mm-hmm. I want to get into the chat.
Each panel can then quickly be adapted by changing the size of the font and rearranging it so that it can work on if I want to go to a web format. And I feel that maybe that's the next direction for artists to understand, that we're not just pencil sketching and hoping that you like the page, that we need to start making our product essentially available for publishers to print online, to print and do online.
No, it's super true. I'm gonna hit up the chat real quick. We got some questions, and I want to say hi to people. And they've got some questions for us. But real quick, I'll say hi. Britton won't be talking much as I'm in church. Just wanted to say hi, Britton. Please pay attention while you're at church. This is good for your soul. We have Mystic Moonlight here. We got Amelia PC, and we got Iris. How are you, Iris? I love you. And we got Scott Bruckner in the house. And I want to really address Amelia, because Amelia, you're actually like the only person I think who was reading my webtoons and commenting on each episode, and I really appreciate that. And it sucks that right now, I have the material for the webtoons, but I don't think I'm going to be posting any more on it. But this is what she says to us. She says, "Gents, don't worry. Some genres will never do well on webtoons. Can you remember any comic similar to a Vertigo series on there? Your target audience is in print comics. Relax." So, have you thought about doing a Kickstarter or Indiegogo for your book? Because your book, by the way, it is beautiful.
Oh, thanks. I am definitely considering a Kickstarter right now. We're kind of formatting about 5 or 6 pages, and I'm in talks with another gentleman right now. I don't want to do the color. I feel like colors. I want to bring another artist in to do the color, but yeah, I'm thinking about Kickstarter. I think it might be a good option for me. I was able to get a reasonable audience, I think, on Webtoons, and it kind of gave me a little bit more confidence too about my art and what I can do.
What you could do is, grab some of that audience to that Kickstarter, even if it's like 10 people.
Now, this is one of the things I don't like about Webtoons. It's really hard to grab that audience. You don't know who they are unless they subscribed on Patreon. You don't have direct contact to it. It's illegal to put a link in there. They don't want you to link if you can help it. So,
which is
part of the term.
Crazy.
So only Webtoons can benefit from my from my comic unless it's big, and then I can benefit.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I want to end. We got some questions. We got really quick. We got Justin Ori. He says Webtoons seems like you should have the series completed before putting up. That does help if you have the series done and formatted, and you can just post it. It makes you less stressed, because sometimes you're like, oh man, I got to update, and it kind of gets you stressed. But then we also have Coffee, and I'm gonna actually give you this question, Joe. This is from Coffee. She says, I wanted to do a webcomic on the side of my manga graphic novel, but my style is definitely more detailed and such. If I have more detailed art, is that a bad idea to do for a webcomic? Joe, what's your thoughts on that?
So I think it depends upon where you're going to post that webcomic. If it goes on Webtoons and your goal is to get subscriptions and to try to build on it, that's probably not a great idea. However, if you have a website or you want to be able to publish this to other media, having a really cool detailed side job, a side line would be really fun. It could not only help market, but could help wherever you're posting it at. So I don't think that web comics can't be detailed. I feel that Webtoons itself caters towards a more spam attack style art and drawing.
And it's because of the format. It's because it's a very linear. It's really Webtoons, I think, is really meant for your phone. It's so that you can let me pull it up, guys, real quick. Webtoons. So like this is the size. I'm using that girl's Webtoons. But like the panel sizes, they're not very big. You're very restricted to that format. If you don't do that format, it's not going to go well with the community. And it's really there just for you to like scroll. Oh crap! Come on. There you go. It's really there for you to like scroll and read this really quick. I don't know, this comic. I feel you. Whereas if you make your own website or go like on Duck Comics or some other web comic places, you can put that full page up and you can show off.
Well, I mean, the first webcomic I ever read was Mega Tokyo, which at the time had these very intense art. I mean, it wasn't Webtoons in any way, shape, or form.
Well, have you seen Makeshift Miracle by Jim Zub?
No, I haven't.
Each update was a 2-page spread that was watercolored by the artist.
Oh wow!
It's so beautiful. There's no way that on Webtoons you could capture that.
And again, I think what I learned over my year and some change on Webtoons was that the thing that I'm doing, I was doing it wrong. Like for me to, I can't insist Webtoons do what I want it to do, you know. But if I do something again on Webtoons, it's going to be a lot more cell shaded, real quick, more sketch style art, a lot more head and shoulder, and a lot more dialogue to carry it through, and a
Yeah,
bunch of white panels that they count. I guess.
I know. Like, well, that's one, and that's why one thing I want everyone to like who's listening to hear this isn't a Webtoons problem. This was us as creators not using the platform the way it was supposed to do, not the way it's supposed to be used. Our comics just, you know, I work on like a 2 days on this nice background, detailed background thing, and then it's like this big. We're just like, what was the point? And so yeah, we didn't create our comics, you know, for the Webtoons format. I'm going to go back to the chat real quick. We got Coffee, and she says, what's the difference between Indiegogo and Kickstarter? Which is better? Kickstarter, the thing with Kickstarter is that it's an all or nothing. If you have a goal of $1,000, and if in that, you know, 30-day window, if you don't meet your goal, it's done. Your Kickstarter is done. You failed, and you have to redo it again. Indiegogo is opposite, where they still you can choose to either all or nothing, or you can let's say your goal is $1,000 in 30 days and you only get 800. They have a flex option where you can still just take that $800 and give everything to your backers, but you cannot do another Indiegogo until you fulfill your backers. So that's a big thing. And then once you're done on Indiegogo, you can turn that site into an in-demand store, so that people can continue to go onto your Indiegogo page, hit the product button, and then you just have to send them the comic. So that's what I'm
in theory. Wouldn't you want to do both if you could?
Yeah, it's because there's two audiences. So right now my comic's on Kickstarter. Everyone go back it. But I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of traffic on Indiegogo, and there's a lot of politics about it, and I don't really want to get to it on the show. But I think for my second volume of my Demons book, I'm doing the rest of my books, my graphic novels, on Indiegogo. And the reason why is I think they treat creators more fairly on Indiegogo. You can turn it into a store, and if you don't reach your goal, you can still use that money to give those who did back their product. And I just think they're just a little more fair on the Indiegogo side of creators, treating the way they treat their comic book creators. But yeah, so how much longer do you think you're gonna keep your comic on Webtoons?
Well, so I've been talking about it with some friends, and there's a possibility we might just leave it up there. You know, it doesn't hurt to leave it up there. Somebody might be interested, might Google it if I'm lucky, you know. But more than likely, we'll be putting it in another home with slightly different format and maybe some slight or minor upgrades to it, maybe some extension. That way, the story is fresh and new. I don't like to go back and revamp the whole thing or anything, but there's a couple of spots where I'm like, ooh, I wish I had another chance to do that. So I might take advantage of that. Maybe I'll put it up on Comixology or Taptastic. I know Comics House is something that a few people have been looking at, which is another comic platform.
Oh, okay. We got Coffee. She's saying Kickstarter is 1 month wait time to receive funds is completely maddening. I did not know that, Coffee. So basically, I got to wait a month for the funds. That's ridiculous. We got Kevin. He's saying big Kickstart campaign can after be invited by an Indiegogo. I think it's the best thing to do, Kickstarter, and go in demand while you finish the book. Okay, so he's saying kickstart your book first and then go Indiegogo and do an in-demand store. That's interesting.
Yeah, Kevin would know if that's Kevin Parent Rotatelli.
Yeah, Kevin would know. That guy's a marketing genius when it comes to comic books. I also think, though, and then he's saying it's actually 21 days, not a month for Kickstarter. I still think that's a really long time.
Well, you know, one of the things that, look, I know that most people who do a Kickstarter don't have the cash up front, you know, to do it. That's why they're going Kickstarter. But I think if there's any way possible for you to have enough cash to fulfill on the completion of the Kickstarter, that'd be great. So like me, I have a small business. So I don't just do comics. I would starve to death. But I have a small business. I do web design. And so like if I do a Kickstarter, my goal would really be that if it gets fulfilled, to immediately print. I would have enough income to do it. I feel that if there's any way you can do it, you should do that. Obviously, if you're really successful, you're not going to be able to do that. But that's a whole different problem.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, like right now, once the day my Kickstarter ends, the next day I'm going to use my own personal money, I guess, since I got to wait 21 days. But I have enough funds that I can then print the comics, get them sent off, and then Kickstarter can just.
I feel like the most frustrating part of a Kickstarter is when you pledge to help and then it takes you 2 years to get the product.
Oh my gosh. And that is infuriating if you do that, any comic book creators. And that's actually why I don't back a lot of comic books unless I know the product is made or finished.
Well, see, like Kevin's got it figured out, dude. Not only does he, not to promote Kevin or anything, but he does the comic. He usually has enough funding up front to print it if he needs to, and he's got a really good print connection. I think he uses Kraken.
Mm-hmm. No, so Kevin was on the show yesterday, just spreading wisdom to everyone. And
yeah, isn't he awesome, man?
Yeah, Kevin's awesome, and I love talking with talking with him because he brings like perspective, and he's very he doesn't mess around. He a lot of times creators are like, oh, like this doesn't make sense. He goes, listen, if you want to do this, this is how you do it. He doesn't like show you how to take corners because there's no corners to cut. There's how you do it. We got Justin Orr saying Kevin's the mad scientist of comics. No, yeah, I agree. If you're gonna do a Kickstarter, you should hopefully be able to have enough saved up that you can start printing the books immediately, and that's what I'm gonna be doing with my Kickstarter. With the Webtoons, I think I was kind of like in the same boat as you. Is I had the dream with Webtoons. I really wished that, and it kind of goes with, I try to cut the corners on how Webtoons should be. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do something different than what Webtoons is normally used, like made for. And instead, the Webtoons community was like, that's not what we like. Nice try. Nice try.
Yeah, I'm happy that given the community that I did get a pretty good, again, I got a good chunk of subscribers, and I did get something like 7,000 views. So I did get some exposure. It wasn't the worst thing, and it did kind of push me to rethink how quickly and in how many segments am I telling my story.
Yeah, do you think that maybe the next time, I'm going to throw this idea out there, tell me what you think, is what if you just up front said, hey guys, this webcomic I'm about to do is only going to be 20 episodes. Each update each week is going to be like huge. And do you think people would resonate with that if you made a webcomic specifically for Webtoons and you said 20 episodes and then it's done? What do you think about that? Does that resonate?
Well, I guess if I did 20 episodes, I'd want to do 20 more. So I don't know if it's about the fans. I think it'd be about me, building. We'd have to look at the story and look on a marketing sense. And I don't like to bring things down to dollars. Success with 20, then you want to take that success. And so, like, for example, I put out 18 episodes, and it took me a long time. I don't know that I could put out 20,
yeah,
without something in return.
That's true. That's true. But that's definitely a huge sacrifice. Is the money that you're going to put into this project?
But maybe like 5 episodes.
Yeah, maybe even like 5 episodes. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to do these 5 episodes. They're going to be huge. Like huge updates. It's not just going to be like a quick 3-thumb scroll. It's going to be like in depth, like a nice one-shot story. I don't know. Do you think that'd work?
Well, I think at that point, what you're trying to do is build so what you'd want to do if, let's say you were going to do that, I think the target audience wouldn't be your Webtoon audience. I think it'd be your Patreon, trying to get people to sustain you through Patreon. Don't worry about the Webtoon views. Worry about developing your Patreon. So I think you'd be looking at Patreon tactics, things that would help build your Patreon. Because that would be the only way that'd be sustainable. At that point, Webtoons is is maybe just trying to net a little bit more audience. There's probably better ways to do it at that point. Sure, you could probably just publish on Patreon and be more successful at that point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I actually agree with that. Agree with that. You know what?
Hey, I like the idea of mixing that with the idea earlier, which is cross-platforming your story that is only available on Webtoons.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, do you use Patreon? Does it work? Do you like it?
I cash it out about every 4 or 5 months, so it definitely pays a few bills.
Yeah, it's not. It's something. You know, one thing I like about Webtoons, and I thought was cool, regardless if I failed or not, is it's just another way to build an audience. And I think that us as indie creators, you know, besides, I think we should have two worries. Every indie creator should have two worries. I think is your book and like your art. So basically, your product. And how are you going to build an audience? So how are you going to make your product good, and how are you going to build your audience? And sometimes I feel like we put the product on a pedestal and we forget, oh wait, you can have a good product who's reading it, because this is where the money's at. This is where the fan base is at, you know. And I feel like sometimes
for me though, like Patreon, I know we're more it's the Webtoons is the topic, but let me be clear about Patreon. I don't make a lot of money on Patreon, but boy, it sure feels good, even if it's just a $1 sub. It shows that one thing that I just don't feel like I'm getting directly off Webtoons. Appreciation, even if it's only a very small amount of money, boy, that feels good.
Oh yeah, like $1 a month, like that's so nice of someone. That's so nice of someone.
I mean, you look at it and you're like, it's not about the amount. It's just that they're willing to do it to show you support, and that is worth more to me than 7,000 views on Webtoons.
No, I'm gonna have to agree with you that. And you know, I haven't set up a Patreon yet. I'm thinking of doing that soon. What do you?
Mine's set up pretty poorly right now. We were retooling it, so unfortunately, if everyone goes there to pitch for my Patreon, I would appreciate it. But it's not really set up for what I'm doing right now.
So what do you offer every month that's extra?
So I just do a $1 opt-in to allow us to do stuff, and what we do is every once in a while we'll put a pack together and mail it out with posters or postcards.
Okay, so at this point it's just $1 support me. You're not giving them any like extra goodies that like.
Yeah, I'm not pushing swag on it. We're doing another product right now called Cry Baby Queer. It's about a kid in the 80s. It's much more designed for Webtoons, but it's based on a novel. And so that one's going to take everything that I know about Webtoons and make it work.
Okay. See, and you know, I can let's get you on again once you like start doing that. Let's see the before and after. Let's see if that hits. If you like after realizing, okay, this is what Webtoons actually wants. Let's see if that hits. I'd love to know about that, because you know, after seeing that, after looking at this girl, you know, I know her after her first episode, she got like 100 subscribers, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And then her second one, she had 500 subscribers, and now that the fact that she's on 10 episodes with 10,000 subscribers, I'm just
that's
like,
nice.
Like clearly she's doing something right, and it's because she followed the Webtoons format, and also her art's good, and that the story must be really compelling. Go you, like that's freaking awesome. Like I bow down.
Well, for me, it's all about being able to get a quality art out and put it in a style or a format that, like, I do very detailed backgrounds. You can't do that on Webtoons. If you do, it's one panel, you know, maybe you have that splash panel, the panel in Webtoons. You remember, you know, the old Jack Kirby splash pages. Maybe for Webtoons, that's just one detailed page, you know?
Yeah, you're not going to get that. We got Amelia PC. She asks, how about Comixology? Not to chase money, but to expand audience. Gents, have you tried it? I had, when I was with Insane Comics, all my Demons books were on Comixology, and it was great. They're all gone now since Insane Comics is no more. But I like Comixology. I'll probably put all my products on Comixology again. They just... Yeah, you can't really chase money with Comixology because they take 50% of every profit. So if your comic book's $1, you get 50 cents per buy, and that's not sustainable.
Well, remember, at this point in our career, indie developers, well, we're not so much looking for the dollar. we're looking for that exposure.
Exactly.
And so like if we can get 50 cents off it, that was probably that was better than not.
True. And you know,
I think for every indie person, it's the paradox is you're not going to make any money until you make money. You know, you're just not. One day you'll make some money at it, and you don't know when that day is going to come.
yeah, and money shouldn't be like your big focus as an indie creator. It should be getting as much exposure to your books. Is you never know. You never know who that 50 cents might have come from on Comixology. That might have been a really big person who wanted to check it out, and they're like, hey, you know what? That was actually really good. Let's hire them. One big problem I have with my Kickstarter currently is I'm working out prices with printers, but I think I might have charged the books a little too high because I calculated the costs wrong. So everyone, if you back the Kickstarter, thank you, and I'm going to be adding a bunch of extra swag in your boxes, just because you guys backed it. I did the calculations a little bit wrong, but I'm going to be throwing in like a crap ton of extra comics that I've made that no one's seen. But for the next for the Indiegogo, I think that I'm hoping that the prices are going to go down. I didn't actually do the math wrong. I just had some complications with my printer setup, and I had to go with a different printer than I had planned.
My only experience with Kickstarter so far is I've funded a few things, and I did an alternate cover for Glacial.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, and the cover did really well, so got a few extra subs just because of that cover.
And this is what I'm going to also say is do connect with other creators, do artwork for them, just network you did that cover for Kevin. It's not a comic book that you're a part of, but that gave you more exposure, and there's nothing wrong with that. There shouldn't be.
Well, in full transparency, Rob Cannon, the artist, he works with me, so we work together already.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess that makes sense when Kevin says behind every man there's a woman, but behind every Kevin there's a Joe.
Well, I think behind every indie comic you'll find Kevin somewhere. He's helping out.
No, he really is, and he's spreading advice, and I think it's freaking awesome.
Hey, grab onto his coattails. I'm going to grab onto him and hold on until he becomes super successful.
Oh man,
there's a funny thing. I met Kevin, but Rob I met here in town. He lives in the same town I do, and so my meeting Rob had nothing to do with Kevin in the first place. And then when I started working with Rob here at the web design place, it was more. It had really nothing to do with Kevin, which is funny. Kevin is the commonality between me and Rob, though. So
that's hilarious. That's so funny. So I guess I got two more questions for you, Joe, before we end this. First, I want to know what you are doing, what you are personally doing to create a fan base towards you and your books. Yeah, I'll ask you that. I'll have you answer that question first before I go to the second question. So, well, yeah, what are you doing?
So mostly what I do is I get on Facebook. I use a lot of social media. I use Instagram and Facebook right now. I put out some posts and direct people out. I also talk and try to network with as many creators as I can. That's it right there. Is it's networking, it's social networking in person through Facebook, and also here doing this right here.
Yeah, and I think if you're not on social media, if you're not grabbing on opportunities, you're not gonna build your fan base. And yeah, I don't, it's not. I'm trying to. I know I'm using this to build a community for myself, but I'm also using this to help other creators be part of said community. And I think it's crazy. I've invited Joe. You'll not believe how many creators I've invited to come on the show, and they go nah. And I get it. I'm not big game. I'm not. There's 5 people watching.
Hey man, I'm pretty camera shy, so this is. I don't do a lot of video, so Kevin's mentioned I should do video in the past, and I was like, I don't know, but when you asked me today, I said, you know what, to heck with it, let's do it.
And I'm really glad you did that. I think we've had a really good conversation. I've learned a lot that I'm going to take into my own business. And and that's really, and I hope the people who have been watching, even if it's we got topped, we had 10 people watching at one point. I think it's a personal best this week.
I like to bring in those big numbers.
I gotta get you more on. I gotta get you on more so I can get those big numbers. It's just exposure. I even offered one creator. I was like, hey, listen, let's just highlight your comic book. And they go, I just don't think it's worth my time. And I was like, fine, whatever. I'm not going to do a show solely based on your comic. I'll buy.
You can do a show based on my comic any day of the week.
Actually, you know what? Let's just real quick. What's your comic book called again?
5 Tribes of Victory.
5 Tribes of Victory.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I had it archived on mine. Okay, I'm gonna ask you this last question. Everyone, pay attention. And then after he's done answering that question, I'm gonna screen share so y'all can see his webtoons so that you can subscribe and check it out. So, Joe, final question of the night. For someone who is wanting, this channel is all about making comics. It's all about indie creators. And it's also for people who are wanting to start making comics. For someone who is new or saying, hey, I kind of like comic books, I kind of want to start being a creator, what advice can you give them?
So I feel that the most important thing in developing a comic is understanding a very simple concept, which is telling the story. Comics has so many different ways to tell a story. Unlike a movie, unlike a novel, it's a beautiful way to. But what I find in a lot of indie comics is maybe it's great art, but the story's missing. And so you have this sequence of events that don't make sense. And that practicing, even if you're just using stick figures to tell a story, is fundamental. So learning how to tell the story to me is more important than being the greatest artist or, even writing like Shakespeare. Just simply be able to go, Mary went over to the store. She bought some milk and eggs. In comes a challenge. Mary overcomes the challenge with superpowers. Obviously some good art helps. And then conclude it. And Mary was happy and everybody was happy and everybody lives happily ever after. Basic components to telling a story.
Boom, everyone. That was awesome advice. I actually really like that advice. Yeah, just tell a good story. All right, everyone, let me screen share this real quick. Screen share. Boom. Okay, so real quick, guys, you go on webtoons.com, and this is it, 5 Tribes of Victory. Also, another thing I feel like with Webtoons is they only, even in the Discover section, they only show off certain categories. And I feel like superhero and sci-fi are one of those obscure categories that they don't, show off very much. Same with, mine. Mine was crime. Mine's crime and, mystery, and there's, no section for that.
Well, a little tip here is switch up your category every now and again.
You know what I did is I changed it to drama, and that's when I got the 500 subscribers.
Yeah. I've switched it up. Right now it's on superhero sci-fi, but it was on drama, and I've done a couple of different things. Obviously, I got to keep it within genre. It's not a romance, so.
All right, everyone. And then I'm just going to show you guys the art off this. Don't worry, I'm going to scroll real fast so you can't read the story. First off, look at that. This right here, this art is not meant for Webtoons. Look how detailed that is. If you look at the Webtoon, this right here, with Webtoons, you'd have to cut off all of this. Look at this art. Look at this detail. This is a beautiful looking book. Right here, this, there's no way to do this with the Webtoons format. This is just beautiful. And then this is my favorite. It was this page. You had the text going on, but then you had look at guys, look at this detail. Look at this. Look at this. Guys, look at this. Every freaking circle, the shading. Look at that. Look at this, guys. This is freaking nuts. And this is why the sad thing is that, why did you think your book didn't do as well on Webtoons? It was too detailed. It looked too good. That's this. That's just the sad thing is that I think you created a really, I read it all today at work. Thanks for distracting me from what I was supposed to be doing. this book is good, and it's the reason why I think it didn't get as much heat as possible is just because it wasn't the stuff that normal Webtoons comics have, which is sucks.
Yeah, pretty much it.
But and that, by the way, is that's not Webtoons' fault, though. That's just, you got to play to your market. You're not gonna go, you're not gonna put, like you said, you're gonna go with genre. You're not gonna put your comic with a romance. Similarly, I don't think that some books succeed on Webtoons just because it's not the right fit. Which I think we both found out. But your books
in a couple of weeks, I'll be able to show you the other project I'm working on, which is designed a little bit more for a Webtoons audience. And it kind of goes into what you were talking about. It has a limited number of episodes because I don't want to do forever episodes on it. And it's kind of a test. I'm trying to push myself to be able to work on Webtoons. I want to be able to do it if I can.
And it'd be so cool to be featured, to have them pay you to be a featured web creator on there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would.
Real quick, we got Amelia. She says 65% in comicsology is more than an international game indie creator. I think, okay. Joe, have you considered to be part of a webcomic community like Drunk Duck, Tapastic, or Comic Theory?
It was actually just brought up to me recently, and it's on the table, yeah.
Boom. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks. I hope you guys learned something. I learned a lot. This has been a really good episode. The title is a bit clickbaity. Why my Webtoons failed. But, for those who've been reading my Webtoons, I'm not going to be updating it anymore. I'm just going to still be working out on the side, and it's going to come out in a graphic novel next year. Everyone, go subscribe to Joe's Webtoons. He's still going for it. And then his is doing great. His is doing better than mine. And then also be ready for what he's going to have in store next time. I really hope it succeeds, Joe. I would love to, once you, if you get some, real results, hit me up on Facebook, and let's get you on the show, and let's talk about that. And that's going to be a huge learning moment. Coffee says clickbait equals more views. Exactly. And everyone, smash that subscribe button, like, and comment. And also, my Kickstarter Demons, it's got 6 more freaking days to go. Crap, you know what? I wrote that on another video that comes out tomorrow, which means it's wrong. It's got those 6 more days to go. It ends on October 30th. We're 150% funded. You're going to get a 122-page graphic novel. I'm also throwing in a 40-page behind-the-scenes book for free to all backers. That's 160 pages of comic books for you. I think is a really good price, and you're going to get it shipped before Christmas. You should hopefully have it by Christmas time. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Joe, for being on the show, and peace. And stop.